Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Rhyme of the Times for the weekend in 22nd of March 2025. The ceasefire in Gaza terminates as both sides fail to negotiate. Trump and Putin discuss Ukraine's fate, but progress ain't great as Russia continues to frustrate, prevaricate and equivocate, while Trump vacillates and fluctuates, and all the time Europe waits. People speculate about how a fire could originate that left Heathrow in a deactivated state. Boxing fans celebrate the life of a first-rate heavyweight. The fragile peace between Hamas and Israel has slowly but surely become derailed. Not completely curtailed, not totally failed, but it was balanced precariously on fate's scales. Since the first stage of the ceasefire had concluded, for 2 weeks both sides had reviewed it. Part 2 of the process was meant to be discussed, but on both sides there is still such little trust. There's no chance they'll ever agree with each other. The fog of war will always have the truth smothered. But it's the divergent aims of Hamas and Israel that has meant this process was doomed to fail. Leave our land forever is the Hamas shout, while Israel wants all of their hostages out. So Israel had aid into Gaza blocked to force the issue to end the deadlock. But the deadlock's not ended, and it's only led to Gazans being locked in and ending up dead, dying from illness and being unfed, causing hopelessness and to fester and spread. And peace talks don't even enter Hamas heads. The terrorists just dig their heels in deeper instead. And so on Tuesday, well before sunrise, it may have been shocking, but it was no surprise when waves of airstrikes launched from Israeli soil threw Gaza once more into bloody turmoil. By the weekend, 600 Palestinians had been killed, and violence into other parts of the region had spilled. In the end, this ending of the peace was bound to start, given that both sides' aims are still so far apart. On Tuesday, another much anticipated call came in, from Trump to the Russian runt in the Kremlin. They spoke for 2 hours about all sorts of stuff, and at the end Trump made out he was happy enough. But what makes him happy and what's in his head are unknowns, just like what was actually said. What is known is that Trump will never criticise, cause his admiration for Putin he cannot disguise. In Trump's eyes, Putin's small size great power belies, and pygmy Putin is one of the world's toughest guys. So he seems to side with the bully, give him what he wants, and everyone knows where Putin's mind is ensconced. Addled with his ideas of the root causes of his war, ideas that the world's heard many times before, that the state of Ukraine should exist no more, while the real root causes he continues to ignore. For him it's about a bygone empire he longs for, and the glories of that empire he wants restored. While, let's face it, Trump just wants a deal done and dusted, which requires the Kremlin coward to be trusted. But for Putin, a quick deal doesn't cut the mustard, leaving the orange one flummoxed and flustered. But still he's not brave enough to call him out, and many people still question, what's that all about? Trump is not exactly the deepest thinker. It seems Putin's played him hook, line and sinker. Or is there some kind of compromat at play, giving Russia undue influence, let's just say? Recently, for the conspiracy theorists, two news stories with a root cause not the clearest. Last week, a cause of much speculative discussion was the crash of a ship captained by a Russian. For conspiracists, it's a surefire banker that he deliberately ploughed into the US tanker, obviously intending to cause American rancor. Others say he was just an incompetent wazoo. Then on Friday, Heathrow Airport juddered to a halt due to a catastrophic electrical fault. It stemmed from an unexplained detonation at a nearby energy substation. For many, the first question asked, the first thought was whose fault was the fault to cause a fire of this sort? A question that requires an answer to be sought and on which stakeholders await a report. And what lessons has this disaster taught about the lack of backup as a last resort? What we do know is when you close down Heathrow, it results in a hell of a lot of planes that don't go. Around 1,400 on Friday all told. The knock-on effect was manifold and manyfold. On Saturday, news of the death of a legend. At 76, George Foreman's life came to an end. He exploded on the boxing scene at just 19, winning gold as part of the US Olympics team. Ended his career at the age of 48 as one of the all-time great heavyweights. Claimed the second world title of his career 20 years after losing the first in Zaire. The Rumble in the Jungle of 1974 was a sporting spectacle to be recalled forevermore. Big George was effectively lured down a dark alley, rope-a-doped and then knocked out by Muhammad Ali. He then took a 10-year break, which did him good, smoothed many rough edges from a troubled childhood, sought a purpose in life and in that search found God and became the pastor of his church. Then returned to the treadmill and achieved the miracle of reaching once more the world boxing pinnacle. Now many reflect on his life of thrills and spills, remember his sporting moments that time distills, admire his strength in climbing life's steep hills, and his many physical and personal skills, not to mention those famous eponymous grills.